I'm going to ask Simon Burall to come up, Director of Involve. So the first of the three of the triple line is the business case. So Simon.
Mark, thank you very much. I used to be a teacher, and I like pacing around the room, particularly to get to the back to make sure we're not falling asleep back there. And so I'm feeling very static, and so if I look slightly kind of constrained, that's why. I like to kind of pace the room. As Mark said, I'm Director of Involve, and I'm here to talk about the business case. And it is an important part of the case, but it isn't the only part of the case. But I will stick to that, and then leave the rest of the case to be made by the other two speakers. So what I'm going to do today is talk to you about three things. I'm going to tell you very, very briefly about Involve so you know where we're coming from. I'm going to tell you about a project we've done to try and help people in your position to make the case for engagement. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about why not to engage as well, which perhaps is a slightly risky thing to do in this audience, but I hope you'll bear with me and I'll be able to make a fairly strong case. So, I'm trying to be challenging, I guess, but in a positive way. So, Involve. We're a charity. We were set up 5 years ago to promote engagement, specifically aimed at government, both local and national government, try and get government to do more engagement and particularly to do it better, because we know that government does it very badly for all sorts of reasons. And in fact, that's the second half of what I'm going to be talking about, really, is how to try and get government to do it better. So, we produce a range of resources. We were launched through this book, People and Participation, where we survey a range of methods for engaging the public, and we explore when you might do one and when you might do the other. So what we're trying to do is to help people to understand the range of ways you do engagement. We're not like a private consultancy with one model where we make a profit by selling that model into any situation. We really try and get government and others to think about what works where and when. We produce a range of think pieces trying to explore where the agenda is going, both public policy in general, but then also engagement, where engagement is going and what that might mean. And then we produce a range of toolkits, of guides and so on about how to do it better, and this one is about how to evaluate engagement. We coordinate this website, peopleandparticipation.net, which is a range of case studies, a range of resources and other things. And at its heart, there is what we call the process planner in that kind of left tab there, blue left tab, where if you're about to run a process, you can put in the number of people that are going to be there, what you're trying to do, how much money you've got, and so on. And it will spit out 3, 4 different methods you might want to think about using for that particular purpose. We're often commissioned by government to do engagement processes, and when I started at Involve 18 months ago, I used it a couple of times, and it kept on saying to me, there's no processes for what you want to do. And normally it's because government didn't want to spend enough money and spend enough time on getting it right. But if you have enough time and you have enough money, it can be quite helpful. So, what I'm going to do now is talk to you about making the case, the business case, the economic case for engagement, for empowerment work. So, it is a tough time. We all know about the cuts. The Local Government Association reckons that with the reduction of the formula grant for local government, it's going to lead to 12% less money for local government, and government departments centrally are losing anywhere between 20 and 40% of their funding, and communities and local government officials have decided to take one of the biggest hits of government in a macho kind of way. So we know it's going to be incredibly tough, and that money is going to be pushed to frontline services. Sorry, Mark, I know you don't like that word. To services for the public, rather than the kind of softer, woolly stuff that you're in the room doing. So we know it's going to be tough. It's also tough to make the case because, frankly, engagement now, I've got a problem here because I used a later version of PowerPoint, and it's supposed to be slightly flaky on this. But there you go. The perils of kind of trying to be as clever as possible and PowerPoint not working properly. But it's good to see Osborne disappear under various pictures. So, it's difficult to make the case for engagement because although what we're trying to do, what we say we're trying to achieve, which aimed to develop a basic tool to help project managers who are non-economists to make the case for effective engagement by exploring and quantifying the costs and benefits of engagement to build a business case for engagement projects. So critically what we were trying to do was develop a tool that was a rule of thumb To help you don't have much time, and you almost certainly don't have economic and environmental and all the different types of training you'd need to make a really strong econometric or social return on investment type case. We wanted something you could use quite quickly for a rule of thumb, so you could go upwards and perhaps downwards and say, look, this is kind of a rough case for why we think this is worth doing at this time in this place. So, this is another slide I know is not going to work quite well. So we have Kelvin, Lord Kelvin, a scientist, was saying when you can measure what you're speaking about and express it in numbers, you know something about it. But if you can't measure it and you can't express it in numbers, then your knowledge is meagre and unnecessary and of unsatisfactory kind. And I guess that's partly what was driving our project. However, Oscar Wilde makes an important counterpoint to that, and partly this is around the business case not being it all. But nowadays people know the price of everything and the value of nothing. Numbers are important, but they ain't everything. And then finally, and here come the little pictures which were supposed to come at the same time. John Maynard Keynes, which is really kind of the spirit behind this project. It's better to be roughly right than precisely wrong. So the tool is aiming to get you somewhere in the right area. We're not claiming it's going to give you every last penny, but you'll get you somewhere near. So there are some challenges in valuing engagement. I've hinted at that already. The impacts of engagement are hard to isolate. The engagement, the empowerment work that you're doing isn't the only thing that's going on. It's not a scientific experiment. So how can you say that this, what you did, led to that positive benefit? Difficult to do. And the impact, as I've already said, is often intangible. You've got increased trust. How do you cost increased trust? And Mark's already hinted at this as well. By measuring and valuing and putting a monetary value on it, you risk all the normative value reasons that we're doing it, because it's good for democracy, because it's good to build trust. So by saying you're going to measure it and put figures on it, you risk devaluing a range of other things which are important to us and important to the communities we work in. It is costly and takes time to do a proper valuation. And also, people are a bit scared of what the equation might tell you. It might tell you actually it's not worth doing it. We'll come on to that in a minute.